G'day, hi and welcome. Hope you're having a marvelous morning. Well, I guess he didn't make it in here last night, so I guess my little block off thing, hopefully that's all I need to do. Got a glove on me, Grammy. Got a sock on. Oh, there's my sock from the laundry. Tell because it smells clean. Otherwise, I wouldn't sniff my sock to see if it was dirty or not, because that would be kind of nasty. If there's one pair of socks you don't sniff, they're mine. Where's my base? The base. I didn't bring anything down with me today, which is kind of odd, because I normally do. But it's kind of raining out there, so I guess I'm going to be in my freaking big rubber boots there. Well, they're actually chainsaw boots. Most uncomfortable boot you could ever possibly work in is winter chainsaw boots, and that's what I'm working in today, because I got to preserve my actual steel toes. Oh yeah, I got the map now behind me. Isn't that cool? Yeah, so gotta wait for my client. Got about an hour. It's not too bad down here. I have the heat on at about 10, so I definitely cool and damp last night. So put plants outside, so they'll get some natural rainfall on them, and then hopefully Marvin and Chippy. I don't know if Chippy's still alive because Casper was on the step yesterday morning. Maybe he ate him. I don't know, but the fact that he was probably on the step probably means Chippy got away. So because Chippy has to travel from the woodshed to the step and not get killed by anything along the way and beat up by Marvin. So I didn't see Marvin this morning. He's probably up in his tree. Probably said, "Who locked me out of my damn house?" It's this guy. It's this guy. I had lots of Marvin capers yesterday. I know what I'm going to do for the winter because I won't be able to leave the door open, so he won't be able to come in. He's like, I like him coming in while I'm making videos and stuff like that, but I don't want him to stay in here because he's going to trash the place, right? Yeah, somebody said, yeah, wait till he chews up your guitars and your drum kit. Oh, yeah, that'd be, yeah, that'll be the end of the Marvin videos after that for sure. Still haven't gotten a hold of the client there for the for the trapping. I tried calling, but I think he gave me a fax machine number, so I can't get a hold of him. So he probably, oh, this guy's just not gonna, do it. But I called him before, and he obviously picked up. So that was the same number I called, I'm sure. Or no, he called me. That's right, he called me. So, but I haven't heard from him. I told him the 18th was when we'd be trapping, and that's why I didn't buy my license yet because like people, oh yeah, I'll get you the trap, I'll get you the trap, I'll get you the trap, and it's like maybe he found somebody else. I haven't heard from him, so it's like I have to wait till I hear from him. But if he calls me in the middle of January, it's going to be too late to trap in January. It's like I could do it, but it's now you're talking about busting ice and like that. I want to do it before there's ice on the, it gets all blocked up, right? So like now's the time to do it. So if we're going to catch the beavers, now's when it's easy, right? So, yeah. So I don't know. I'll try again tonight and say, hey, yeah, are we still on for that? You might say, "Oh no, I got somebody else," or second thought, we're going to do this instead, or what. You never know what's going to be, right? So I always tend to err on this. That's why I don't just like I wait till the job is going to start before I invest in it. You know what I mean? Because you can lose a lot of money like that. I see a lot of guys do stuff like that, where it's like, especially with big equipment, they got to go buy a whole bunch of diesel and stuff like that, and they go and they fill up, and they're like, okay, we're ready to go. Second thought, I think we're gonna go another route. And, we don't need you now. And it's like, dude, I just spent all this money. So a lot of people, what they do is like, it's like when it's big projects, like this is not a big project, but I have to buy a license, which is about $30. So I'm going to charge them for the license. I'll charge them at least 20, because I'm going to be making money off of the pelts anyway. Charge them $10 a beaver. I could charge them 20 a beaver, but I'll charge them $10 a beaver because it's like, well, I see like yearly repeat business here, right? The I mean, I'm not going to make a lot of money off of this. I might make a couple of $100 out of the season. I might make an extra $200 or something like that, plus whatever beavers I catch. Because it's basically pick me up. Uh, you know, when the beavers are there, I'll bring the trap back. Uh, take the beavers out of the trap, bring them back the next night or whatever. Usually, what I do is I leave the trap. If the beavers are not frozen, I'll take the beavers out of the trap right away. But if the beavers are frozen, I bring the trap home, and what I do is I bring the beaver in and let it sit overnight. Like on the basement floor or whatever. On a put them on something. Like tarp or you know board or something, just so he's not leaking. Like lying right on your basement floor and leaving smell. Um, it's not that I leave a lot of smell, but it's just it just protects your place, and you let it like really warm up so that when you take the trap off, you don't lose a line of fur, because you will see that line of fur missing on the pelt when they go to grade it, and then you'll lose money on that, right? And like anything they can like fur is kind of funny because like they they'll take a beaver pelt and they'll cut it up into like 1,000 pieces and sew it back together to make a garment, right? That's how, like, if you ever see how they make fur coats, it's not like one piece. It's like thousands of pieces. Like it's the same pelt, but they cut it up into thousands of little pieces, sew it all back together. That's why fur coats are like $12,000, right? It's because of all the work. Like there's a lot of work in it, right? And they do that. But if there's a little hole in your pelt when you send it to them, it's like, oh, we got to knock this much money off. I was like, what? You just cut it into 1,000 pieces. You're gonna knock all that money off there. So I don't know. Maybe I won't be trapping this season. It's hard to say because I don't really have any other places to trap. Uh, I'm sure I could, if I say, does anybody need any beavers trapped? I could probably, you know, keep myself pretty busy doing that. But it is what it is, and if I do it, great. If I don't, it's no biggie. It's just it could be something extra. Like that was one of the reasons why I got my trapping license in the first place, was to have like year round employment. So it's like, okay, when the downside, when I'm laid off, kind of so to speak, for the winter, uh, or the work just comes to a screeching halt, and it's like just a trickle, like I am now. Like this week, I might only work 2 days. Uh, I might only have 2 days of work. Maybe I have more. It's hard to say, but I won't know until the end of the week, right? But last week, I think I worked 3 days. You know what I mean? So down from like in the summertime when I'm working like 7 days a week for like 3-4 weeks straight. That kind of like that's just so much, it's so overload, and you get so burnt out, and then you go down to like, okay, you're twiddling your thumbs, right? But it is what it is, and you just got to kind of go with the flow. Um, the If I can maintain, like I know probably will maintain into November, which is not too bad. At least 2 days a week to 3 days a week average. It's not too bad, but that really does slow down the income uh, to a grinding halt. And I got a few things like, okay, there's Christmas, which I don't have to spend a lot of money at Christmas, but I'd like to spend at least 400. You know what I mean? If I can, if not, I'll just put it on the credit card. But I also don't want to have credit card debt going through the winter if I can help it, so I don't have to go to the bank as much, right? So especially if I don't have a vehicle, right? But I can pay my bills through the teller or the Interact machine or the bank machine out in the neighboring town. The problem is I have to have money in the bank to do that, right? So I do have money in the bank to do that, and I don't want to dwindle that on bills. I'd rather go up to the bank, go right to the teller, here's some cash, and leave the money in the bank, right? That I have in the bank. Not like I have a lot of money in the bank, but is what it is. Is what it is. So that's that goal there. Um, the other thing is to have enough money to get through the winter, which it's gonna be touch and go. It's gonna be touch and go. If like if it really dies off, where it's like, okay, I haven't worked for 3 weeks, type of thing. Uh, yeah, that hurts. That hurts a lot because it's always so hard to get money. Like I start working again, say like April typically, right? But I don't really see the money until May or June, right? So it's this weird thing where like I don't get paid like normal people, like every 2 weeks or something like that. I get paid either on the day, on the spot, which is what I prefer, uh, because then I always have a little bit of a, you know, getting ahead. Like, for example, like first thing in the spring, I have to stock up on like, my fuel and stuff. It doesn't sound like much, but, when you have like next to no money and you got to go and get like, $60 worth of fuel, like, I mean, again, it's only $60, but when you don't have the $60, you know what I mean? And then you got to get that, and then you got to do, a few other things. And, so you're spending a little bit of money to do that, you know? So it's like, I, when I'm not working, when I have a vehicle, what I do is I save up enough for about 3 tanks of fuel, enough so I can have one full tank of fuel per month. And that usually, if I make enough money, it'll get me through the month because I don't, you know, uh, drive around much in the winter. Like I don't leisurely drive. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. You know what I mean? Got no money to do it, right? The money I have to make it, last till spring. So that hurts. That hurts a lot. That's why I try to make as much money as I can. Like when I tell people I'm broke, like what they don't understand is like, yes, I have savings, right? But I can't touch them or I'll have no money in the winter whatsoever. So basically, my money is worth half because I have to make a year's income in 6 months. You know what I mean? So that means like you just don't get to spend like crazy, right? But the good news is I'm going into the winter with zero debt. Last past couple of winters I went into the winter with debt, right? For the instruments and stuff like that. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy anything on the credit card or whatever, but I'm going to try to keep it low. Like under $2,000 or whatever, because like that's manageable. But right, zero debt is more manageable than any debt, right? So right now I don't need to go into debt for anything, but I still have things I want to accomplish. Like I still got to get the base amp, which I have money for that. If I it's like I've got about $800 or something like that for a bike, right? Which this time of year, the cycling is going to come to a drastic stop. Uh, I don't like when there's snow on the ground. I'm not going to be cycling because it's just too dangerous. I'm not going to be on the road on the that's a highway, right? It's a rural highway, but it's still a highway. It's a 90-kilometer-an-hour highway, and if the snowbanks are moving in like this, I don't want to be on. People are not expecting people on bikes this time of year on the highway, right? They're not, around these parts. They're not even expecting them in the summertime, to be outside the towns, right? So when you're in between, it's like you get like these city cyclists that like they're well out past the white line, because it's my right to be here, not realizing that they're going to either cause an accident or get themselves killed. Like it's like no, it's a rural highway, dude. You don't want to be. You want to be well on the other side of that white line on the ditch side, because it's a matter of time before you're going to get hit. Like people are traveling much faster. They're not traveling at 25 kilometers an hour or 30 kilometers an hour or whatever, like they are in the city. They're traveling at highway speeds, right? You know, like anybody that's like, well, they should be paying attention to the road and they should be watching it. You can't expect people to, like you can't put your safety in other people's hands. Like it's just common sense that you don't do it. So once the weather's too bad, my like the long range cycle that I have to do, which is a round trip of about 24 to 26 kilometers. That one, I have maybe one more job to do this season, and that's take the boat back up to Maniwaki with their truck. That is maybe possibly the last cycling I have to do for the season. Then after that, okay, yeah, I'll take the bike from here to the store just because it's faster than walking. I do that all the time, but I don't, I'm not worried about if I divert those funds into something else I'm going to use for the winter, such as a base amp. But I can live without the base amp for a while. Like the base amp is so that if a gig pops up, I can actually do gigs, right? I do want another bass, sure. I want to build. Like I think I've gone as far as I can go with the guitars for now. There is some guitars I would like to have, but like there's really I can't get much better than what I have. You know what I mean? Like there's just no amount of money can buy better guitars. Like much better guitars than what I have. Like they're as good as guitars can get, right? So whether you like these guitars doesn't matter. It's like okay, I've got the only thing I don't have is a single coil guitar. That's it, like a Strat or a Tele, and I'd probably get a Tele. So yes, there's a Telecaster I really want, but like that's kind of like just to have my bases covered. Not that I need it because I'm doing the metal stuff, so it's all humbucker stuff that I do, right? And I do have split coils on the Charvel, so technically I do have a guitar that can, give me the single coil sound. It's a very modern single coil sound, not like a classic Telecaster sound. So it's kind of like a modern Telecaster sound, like a futuristic Telecaster sound. So I can like that Charvel can kind of do everything, right? It's the good. It's I wish it had 24 frets. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like and. If it had the dinky body with the nicer heel joint, that would just be icing on the cake. But as is the way it is, it's like it's a forever guitar. Like I really don't see myself getting rid of that guitar ever because it's just like it's so good. And the way it's built, it's gonna kind of one of those guitars that'll like outlast your. It's a Charvel. It'll outlast your. It's like a Strat, like a Fender Strat. It'll outlast your grandkids, right? Um, I mean, people are still playing original year Strats and Tellys. You know what I mean? Some of them are a little beat up, but there's some of them that are there's still the neck is still straight because the things were built like baseball bats, right? They built them to last for sure. The Charvel's no different. It's just a really really well built instrument. And then my 8 string and my 7 string, well, that covers my extended range stuff. And then of course my flying V's and stuff like that. My they're just similar to the Charvel, uh, and then of course I've got my 2 SGs which cover my vintage sounds, my 1960s sounds, right? So I've got everything from you name the genre I can play it. So I don't have a hollow body anymore. I used to have a hollow body electric, which I regret getting rid of, but not like big regret. But it's just like it would be. Yeah, it's a guitar. I recorded with it. It was an Ibanez Artcore 75, and it was absolutely no good live. It was no good live. The pickups were completely gutless. But when you recorded with it, it was the sweetest sounding tones you would ever get. They were like the lowest output pickups you could get with like it was a jazz box, right? What they call a jazz box, big hollow body. And I remember I played live with it. And it just didn't have any drive to it. Like the pickups, it was just like I was playing with the pickups, way down, even when they were full up. It sounded good. It didn't have any drive to it, right? So, but it gave you like that classic Gretsch kind of sound without the power of the pickups of a Gretsch, right? Like a Gretsch, when you play it live, those pickups, they got good output. They're great sounding. It's the best sounding, like hollow bodies you can get next to like the Gibson ES 335s and the 137s. They just sound really, really good, with the birch bodies and hollow bodies and stuff like that. They sound great, but it's like if you're doing that kind of sound, like I can get close enough with the SGs to that sound. Okay, it's not a hollow body sound, but it's the classic Gibson growl humbucker sound. So like need not want, right? But in the bass category, I got one bass that's a 5 string. Now the thing is uh, the type of basses I need, okay, are for metal. Okay, so the standard scale length basses, they don't quite give you that gnarl and drive you can get with the extended range like 35 and 37-inch, multi-scale extended range basses. But as soon as you get outside the 34-inch scaled length, the standard length, you're talking big bucks, right? But there are some basses that are bang for the buck. There's an Ibanez multi-scale 5 string that I played. This thing is like black metal all the way. Like every ounce of the guitar, other than the frets, or the bass, other than the frets, pretty much is blacked out and whatever. It's really neat. It was a really neat bass, and it was an extended range bass. And it's like like if you want a bass for heavy metal, it'll do it. But it's sitting at a 35-inch scale on the B string, and I think 34 or 35 and a half on this the scale on the B string, and 34 and a half on the G string. So it's a bass that can kind of go into all territories. So if you want to do jazz like Jocko and have a little bit more low end, you can do it, right? If you want to play Periphery, you can do it, So it doesn't have the full gnarl of like a Dingwall with the 37-inch scale, no. But the thing about the Dingwall is you can't mellow out a Dingwall. You know what I mean? Like you could play mellow with it, but it's still going to have that extended range. You're always going to have that extra low end. So is what it is, right? And then you can get basses with short scale, like 30-inch, 32-inch. And those, they're easier to play, but they have a tauter sound. So they actually sometimes sound more bassy. Like they don't have the same low end drive, but they, like if you were doing like slap and popping sounds and stuff like that, it would have a very high mid kind of frequency to it, which would give it a lot of bitey edge. So it'd be a very good soloing bass. You know what I mean? Like the Gibson basses, which I've played them. I've played the Epiphone basses with the short scales. They're fun to play. They're easy to play because they're short scaled. But it's like, to me, I really, really, if I'm going to throw money at something, it has to do something that I don't have, right? So I have the 34-inch scale 5-string bass, and those Ibanez Geos, yes, they're bottom of the barrel for a 5-string. Sure, they're not the cheapest 5-string, but they're of the they're beginner level basses, right? But it's a good bass. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing to look at. You know what I mean? Like it's just they put enough finish on it just so the wood doesn't rot, right? And but playability and stuff like that, like if you take it the best playing bass on the planet and take my cheap Ibanez Geo and compare it, like the difference is maybe that much. You know what I mean? Like it's a really good playing bass. I know people don't want to hear that, but it's true. Like basses and guitars are different, like in the sense where a guitar, you know, you can see sometimes notice the difference between paying like a couple $100s more for something. You can actually get a feature or whatever that actually makes sense, right? But even guitars, like, I mean, you can get professional instruments are really the person playing it. It's just the quality of the instrument. What you're judging your instruments on is basically the what it's made out of, like the actual materials. Okay, and you will pay more for more material, better materials, or more exotic materials, or whatever. You'll pay more for that. The tone woods, so to speak. I know some people believe in tone wood, some people don't. Tone wood is a thing. It's just, is it the be all end all? No. Like, I mean, an Ibanez entry level Ibanez Geo can sound pretty good. Does it sound as good as your prestige models? Probably not, but that probably has more to fit and finish. Like how well the instrument's built, how well the fretwork is, how well it plays. So usually when I pick up an instrument, the first thing I judge it on is how well it plays, not by how well it sounds, because if you play well, it's going to sound good anyway. But the other thing too, and this is kind of a good problem, is the way manufacturing is now. Like, there's almost no bad instruments out there at any price level. In fact, when the price level starts going up, you have to really kind of question what you're paying for, right? Like, well, I'll use my Charbel for example. That guitar is bang for the buck, is an awesome guitar. Why? Because it's got all the aesthetics you could ever imagine. So aesthetics, okay, yeah. Sometimes you can get a cheaper guitar that'll look good, but can you get a guitar that looks that good, plays that good, sounds that good, and the fit and finish is that flawless for the same price? That's where you start to say, okay, well, maybe not. And that guitar was $1,600, and it went on sale for like 1,040 or something like that, and came out to about $1,300 tax, just a little under 1,300. By the time it was got to my door, bang for the buck. I'm just not going to find a better deal than that, right? Phenomenal guitar. So the other thing too was the like the eight string. You know what I mean? That eight string, okay, it's went up by I think like $100 or $200 since I bought them. Mine, it was like $899 or something, like $900, we'll say. Okay, it was 800 or $900, whatever it was. It came up to 1,040 by the time it came to my place. Now, it was on the lower end of a professional guitar, but mahogany body, mahogany neck, Jatoba fingerboard, which love it or hate it. It's the new rosewood. It sounds okay. Like, it's more the look of it that I don't like. It's too orange. Like, it's just not dark enough. After you do an oil treatment on it, it kind of darkens it a little bit. But it's just the Jatoba board. Like, you can always tell a Jatoba board. Like, it looks like an orange peel. Like, it's a color that just doesn't fit with anything. Uh, but sound wise, it's not as nice sounding as a rosewood. It doesn't have the sustain of a rosewood, but it does have some nice upper mids like rosewood. So it's kind of like, okay, it's going to give you kind of like a bit of a dull sound. It's a cheaper wood. I would rather they put maple on there, which gives you a nice bright clear sound. It would look weird on a guitar that's all blacked out, right? Yeah, you can make it work, but But that said, that's a professional guitar too. Bang for the buck, it wasn't a bad deal, you know. And you can get like professional guitars, like the PRS entry level guitars are professional guitars. It's just the necks are that thick on them. They'll never warp or shit. You'll never have to adjust that neck ever. You know what I mean? I would highly recommend if you have the money for like intermediate entry level players to look at those guitars. Yeah, they're kind of a Spartan finish on them, but you've got really good PRS type quality. You know what I mean? My Mark Holcomb six string, that thing, I think came out just around 13 or $1,400. No, it was $1,300. yeah, it came out 1450 tax and all, and I think no, it came out $1,300 tax and all, something like whatever it came out to anyway. Bang for the buck, phenomenal, like fit and finish, phenomenal. Uh, Mahogany body, ebony fingerboard. Uh, it's as professional as a professional guitar can be. I only played it live once, and it was like I really enjoyed that guitar and drop C playing it live. Even though I wasn't playing music I would normally play, it was just like blues and stuff like that. But I'm like, this guitar. I understand why Mark Holcomb spec'd out the guitars that way for live playing. They're really good. Same with the 7 string. Like it's one of the best 7 strings on the market. In that scale length. Uh, oh, I better open my door because my client's car is so quiet, right? She probably won't be here for a little while yet, but we'll have a morning view here. But anyway, yeah, that's a nice morning view. Let's widen it out. There you go. It was raining. Now I don't know which boots to bring because maybe I wear my maybe I better bring both because if I can avoid wearing these big muckalucks, they're yeah, maybe I'll put those back on and go from there. But anyway, yeah. So like when you're choosing instruments, yeah, it's fit and finish, what it's made out of, whatever. You can get a fairly professional instrument for not too much money. Like if that's what you got to do. If you got all the money in the world, like, and then you want the aesthetics and the like the creme de la creme, you can buy the best like guitar between $1,200 and $1,600, as good as a guitar could be. You can buy a guitar $10,000 and you can still find the one that'll play just as good or sound just as good or look just as good for between that other money that I was saying, And the basses are the same thing, but the thing with the basses is that you pay, and it's the same with guitars to a good degree, but you pay like this much more, but you only get this much more. Violins are exactly the same. So what I'm getting at is that you can, get instruments, at all kinds of price ranges. But I remember when Glenn Frick did like the 10 guitar shootout to just prove that pickups didn't matter and tone wood didn't matter. You wouldn't be able to pick it out in the mix. And he was right, and he said the guitar didn't matter. It's like just use anything. He goes, the only thing you're going to really notice is maybe single coils to humbuckers. And then, that's about it. And even then, you can make a single coil and a humbucker with enough gain will sound, pretty close, right? And he was right to a degree, but where I disagreed with him, I never argued with him or anything, but where I would disagree with him is that, no, he's wrong. It all matters, but it all has to matter based on things being completely different. So, for example, if you got your beautiful Telecaster, it could be any Telecaster, whatever your favorite Telecaster is, and put it up against my 8-string, there is no way you're not going to be able to, in the mix with no matter how much distortion you put, you will not be able to make that Telecaster sound, not even any drop tuning. It will not sound like the madness that is my 8-string. Why? Because the 8-string just has this crazy gnarly sound on it. And if you put that thing in a drop tuning, it's like if you're using the same type of string, same brand, and putting that on the exact same tuning, using exact same settings, no, you will not get the same sound. So yes, but that's the whole point when you're buying something. If you want something different, you have to spec it out to make sure that you're not just buying like my Jackson Flying V versus my SGs versus my Charvel. Those ones were using the same setting, using the same strings, same string gauge, same tuning. Yeah, you probably would have a hard time picking those guitars out in a mix. But I can guarantee you that my SG61 reissue, which would be the most different guitar from my 8 string, you can notice the difference between those two because of the different type of humbuckers. You know, like you might not pick it out right away, but you will pick it out. And I'm going to do a video just to, maybe send it to Glenn and say, look, your 10 guitar shootout didn't really work because you used 10 of the exact same type of instrument. You have to have two different types of instruments. You have to go a single coil instrument against a shorter scaled instrument like a Gibson or something like that, and put it up against something like a long scaled instrument like an 8 string, and then do it. And yes, for metal, for clean, for anything, yeah, you're going to pick it out. I can guarantee you, my 8 string is a unique guitar. That's why I did that video on people giving up on their 8 strings. That hang on to it for a bit. Force yourself to play it a bit more. Because once you do, like, you're going to find yourself having a hard time going back to other guitars because you start to explore avenues with the 8 string that you just can't do. You can't just drop tune your way to an 8 string on a 6 string guitar. You just can't do it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't hold. It just doesn't hold that way. So anyway, I got to get ready to go, and I want to play my guitars a little bit before my client gets here. But yeah, so we'll see what kind of day. Hopefully Marvin won't find another way in here. I'm sure he's got 1,000 ways to get in here, but he wasn't in here this morning. I'll have to stay on top of the Marvin situation, but I didn't see him yet this morning, so hopefully he's well. But hopefully he's well out there. Anyway, there we go, guys.